All right, well, welcome back. It's late August, almost September, and have another set of reviews.
That's right.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Don.
This is my dad, and this is Dad's book reviews. So I figured he reads a lot, and I like to just cherry pick off the top. So,
Okay.
how many reviews we have this time?
We have 5 reviews this time.
And out of curiosity, out of how many books was that read?
Oh, there were probably 15.
Okay.
There were a bunch that just didn't live up to the hype.
Okay.
They had really good star ratings, but they just weren't that good. The story was interesting, but they don't develop the characters. You don't get to know the character well enough that you care what happens to him.
Okay. Oh, he died. That's too bad.
The last book is the series I'm reading right now. The name of the book is Chef, and it's by Gabriel Rathweg. It may be Gabriel, I don't know, Rathweg. The series is called From Chef to Crafter to Conqueror. There's 4 books in the series, but I've only read the first 2. I'm on the 3rd one right now.
It's good enough to recommend already.
That's right. The first book is 643 pages. The genre would be fantasy, time travel, alternate history. All of it's in there. It's a different series.
Okay.
Ryo is the protagonist. He's a chef on a spaceship, very good chef. When you join the Space Force, they fill you with nanobots. And the nanobots change your DNA, they change your body so that you live longer, you're always healthy, you get wounded, they'll put you back together. If you cut your head off, they don't have any way to do that, but they can take some pretty serious wounds and put you back together. And he has a computer chip in his brain that the Space Force uses to communicate with, to teach their Space Force and to help them function at a high level. The spaceship is destroyed in the first chapter. He gets on one of the rescue pods, which blasts down to Earth, but literally gets caught up in the blast of their spaceship. And I'll let you read about that to figure out what happened, because I can't explain it. But he gets transported back over 1,000 years into 1273 on a Japanese island at the time that Genghis Khan is destroying the Song dynasty in China. He has overrun the Korean peninsula, and he's only 2 years from invading Japan and overrunning Japan. He ends up on Tsushima Island. It's a little island between the Korean peninsula and the bottom of Japan. It's not a really big island, big enough, that it takes a while to get around it, but it's big enough island to have several thousand people on it. He ends up in the water, makes it to shore with his survival kit and his chef's knives. He can't leave the chef's knives behind. That's where they find him. They see this big light coming from the sky and there's a huge explosion, but he survives the crash. When the spaceship is destroyed, the AI on the spaceship jumps to his chip in his head and carries with it all of the data of the human race.
Wow. All in his head.
All in his head. And so when he wakes up, he's laying on a beach, he's cold, shivering, and he's got a snarky AI in his head with a lot of data. And the people on the island find him that way. They're a little bit leery about who is this guy and what is he. His AI is able to understand the language and is able to get him to understand it fairly quickly. And so he's able to communicate with them. When he tells them he's a chef, he kills 3 Oni pirates right off the bat as they try and attack him. And then he spends the night in the tent there, and when the people find him in the morning, here are these dead pirates and him there in excellent condition, and he tells them he's a chef. That raises their eyebrows a little bit. They know he has to be a warrior because he's got his knife set has what the Japanese would be the samurai would have, the short and the long swords. And that's what he was using when he killed the pirates.
And that's what he uses as chef knives.
Well, he has several knives. Those are just two of them.
Those sound like big ones.
One of them is a big one. One of them is a big one. To make him prove that he really is a cook, they make him cook for them. And he cooks something that they have never tasted the like of their entire life. Just, he wins them over in one meal. So he starts cooking for the castle. How he works his way from there with a guy that has a lot of knowledge of what's coming and all the things that humanity has done for 1,300 years in his head. How do I use this knowledge to either change what's happening or make a place for myself with it? And it's a really interesting book.
He knows that Genghis Khan is coming with his hordes.
That's right.
How are we going to survive this?
2 years, Genghis Khan is going to overrun that island and use it as a forward base to attack Japan. And he knows that's coming. So how do I leave? How do I get out of here? Do I stay? If I stay, how do I help make this island so that it can withstand that force that's coming?
Did Genghis Khan take over Japan?
He did. He invaded it twice. Marco Polo's in it. I had no idea that Marco Polo was in Genghis Khan's retinue.
Okay.
He was traveling with Genghis Khan. And I looked him up, and sure enough, he spent quite a bit of time traveling China with Genghis Khan.
How much of this history did you know before this book?
A little bit of it. I knew about Genghis Khan. I knew what he did. I knew the Song dynasty was destroyed by him. I knew he overran he even got into Europe, but then he turned the other way and he took the whole Korean peninsula, and then he took Japan before he was killed. I rated it a 9. Very good, definite recommendation. Profanity. He is a military man, and he is profane. It's not quite as bad as the other. I rated a D for one person or more seems to have a penchant for using hard profanity. Sexuality, rated a mature. There's no description of sexual acts, but they are very open with nudity and things like that in Japan at that time of the history. And he has some very vivid dreams of his girlfriend that died on the spaceship. So it's mature. I rated it VB, violent, bloody, well-described acts of mayhem, usually by sword or by arrow. Genghis Khan is killing people by putting floors over them on their bodies and then holding dinner parties on top of the floors, just squishing them to death. Teen, rated for teens.
It's rated for teens with all that in it?
None of it is so bad that I would have to rate it for adults.
Okay.
But all of it is uncomfortable at times.
So, and is that why you rated it a 9?
Uh-huh. It wasn't good enough to overcome the profanity and the violence in it.
Okay. Well, hopefully you enjoyed what we had.
Yes, I think you'll enjoy some of these books. Take a look and let us know what you think.
Yeah.